Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Matters of Faith, the radio show. Matters of Faith is a show designed to bring issues of interest to you, the listening and viewing audience, that will put a biblical perspective on everyday issues. I am your
Good
host,
evening, everybody,
the Reverend
and
Dr.
welcome
J.
to
Matters
Lauren
of Faith,
Russell,
the
and
radio
it is
show.
my job
Matters
to
of Faith
engage you in
is a show
stimulating
designed
dialogue,
to bring issues
dialogue
of
that's
interest to you,
inspiring,
the listening and
encouraging,
viewing audience,
and motivating,
that will put a
dialogue
biblical
and
perspective
conversations
on
that will help you
everyday
build your
issues,
determination, your commitment, and your character. Conversations that will help you keep the faith. Everyone born of God overcomes the world. This is the victory that has overcome the world, even our faith. 1 John chapter 5, verse 4. And now, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, without further ado, it is time for Matters of Faith, the radio show. Good evening. Good evening, everybody. It's Monday, February 12th. It's 8 o'clock, and it's time for Matters of Faith, the radio show. I am your host and executive producer, Reverend Dr. J. Lauren Russell. And tonight we're talking about the topic and the article, Stay Connected. We're on Matters of Faith, the YouTube channel. And my very special guest this evening, Dr. Sharon Kahn. Telephone and tell a friend they don't want to miss this show tonight. Stay connected with Dr. Sharon Kahn. Please don't forget our sponsors and advertisers, the JLR Company and J. Lauren Russell Consulting, LLC. For all of your church financial consulting needs, we have a website, www.jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. That's jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. Or telephone us at 718-328-8096, 718-328-8096. If you need a church loan, if you need to develop your property, if you want to know how to maintain your church property, if you need to train your trustees, if you need evangelism training, give us a call. We'll help. It's not about the castle. It's about the kingdom. Matters of Faith, the book. Through our Cash App, $ Matters of Faith, the book is $23.92. You can send your check or money order to the Post Office Box 301, New York, New York 10035. That's Post Office Box 301, New York, New York 10035, and address it to the JLR Company. You can also get it as an ebook. Just go to www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. Once again, www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. Check out the Eat Okra app for all black-owned restaurants all over the nation. Yes, that's right. Eat Okra. And then subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. We are now broadcasting Matters of Faith on our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Subscribe, like, and share it with a friend. And also, get your subscription to Better Mag magazine today. A 2-year subscription is only $27.50. Go to www.abettermag.com. That's www.abettermag.com. And now the article, Stay Connected. That article can be found in my column, Matters of Faith, at the Bronx Chronicle, www.thebronxchronicle.com. That's www.thebronxchronicle.com. It can also be found in the Yonkers Insider, www.yonkersinsider.blogspot.com, www.yonkersinsider.blogspot.com. It's also carried in Better Mag magazine, www.abettermag.com. www.abettermag.com. It can also be found in Pamela's Big Heart newsletter. Stay connected. John chapter 15, verses 4 through 7, New English Translation. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. Just as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it remains in the vine, so neither can you unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. The one who remains in me, and I in him, bears much fruit, because apart from me you can accomplish nothing. If anyone does not remain in me, he is thrown out like a branch and dries up, and such branches are gathered up and thrown into the fire and are burned up. If you remain in me, and my words remain in you, ask whatever you want, and it will be done for you. Stay connected. The scripture suggests that staying connected to the vine is a choice. We first get the option to be connected by receiving Christ as our Lord and Savior. Then we get the option to stay connected. The scripture further declares those who choose to stay connected will forever be connected to God the Father through Christ the Son. God, the vine, has never been guilty of disconnecting himself from the branch. It is always the branch that chooses to disconnect from the vine. Whenever anyone disconnects, their ability to bear fruit ends immediately. I'm sure they can still do some things, but they will not be able to bear the fruit Jesus talks about if they are not connected to the vine. The vine, Christ, is the source of life that produces salvific fruit that opens the portal to everlasting life in the kingdom of God. No one can produce that kind of fruit if they are disconnected from the vine. Productive branches, like productive Christians, are cared for and nurtured. They are fed through the vine and pruned by the gardener so they produce more fruit. The pruning process can be meticulous and painful because it requires cutting, snipping, clipping, and trimming. Pruning of Christian branches can come when leadership changes, ministries shift, finances are challenged, or people die. It's at that critical time, and those critical times, that the branch must stay connected to the vine. Pruning may result in the branch being cut off or cut back, but not cut off. The pruning process helps the branch reap a richer, more fruitful harvest. When branches are connected to the vine, fire, rain, storms, or floods can delay, but not prevent a fruitful harvest. The test suggests that Christians connected to the vine will have the same results if they ask for whatever they want, and it will be done for them. A connected branch is a metaphor of a believer being connected to the vine. A fruit-bearing Christian does the work of an evangelist by feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, and equipping the saints so that they too can have a fruitful ministry. I want you to recognize that disconnected branches are cut off of the tree and burned. Disconnected Christians are like disconnected branches, cut off and burned. They are no longer fruitful for the body of Christ and no longer productive for the church. When we are connected, Jesus makes us fruitful. Just as the vine nourishes the branches, Christ nourishes those who are connected to him. Whatever you decide to do, decide to be connected. Be blessed.
And now here's my question. In what ways could you have disconnected yourself from the vine? Let me ask it again. In what ways could you have disconnected yourself from the vine?
Matters of Faith family, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce to some and present to others my guest tonight, Dr. Sharon Kahn. Over 25 years ago, Dr. Sharon Kahn transitioned from the bustling Midtown New York City corporate environment to the educational world and has had a plethora of experiences in business and academia. She left the world of banking as a senior manager, service manager, assistant secretary for Manufacturers Hanover Trust Company, formerly one of the largest banks in New York. She now holds the position of Chief Academic Officer at Career Technical Institute, a post-secondary institution in Washington, D.C. She's a native of Westchester County in New York, and she is an astute academic visionary and community activist. Dr. Kahn earned her B.A. from Marymount and Fordham University in New York, an M.A. in Education and Human Development, and an EDD in Higher Education Administration, both from George Washington University in D.C. She has held numerous positions as both an educator and community activist over the years, and these positions include served on several community boards of directors in Westchester and Bronx counties, worked in various political campaigns, past president of the Higher Education Association at George Washington University, selected as one of the first members of the WMATA Riders Advisory Council in D.C., and served on the board of directors for Prince George's Resource Connection in Maryland. She also served as a consultant for the Washington Deluxe Inner City Bus Service in New York. She is currently the vice president of the C. Dolores Tucker Legacy Branch of the Association for the Study of African Life and American and History, and a member of Positive Black Folks in Action. Dr. Kahn joined the Potomac Massage Training Institute Board of Directors located in Silver Springs, Maryland in 2018 and holds the position of secretary. She also serves as a co-team leader and team member for the Council of Occupational Education in Georgia, a nationally accredited organization where she has opportunity to audit classes and schools across the country. In February 2018, she and a few colleagues produced a play in Washington, D.C. called Malcolm, Martin, and Medgar. The play featured Malik Shabazz, the youngest daughter of Brother Malcolm X and Dr. Betty Shabazz, and was written by A. Peter Bailey, a longtime colleague of Dr. Khan and former member of the Organization of Afro-American Unity, the organization founded by Brother Malcolm X after he left the Nation of Islam. On 9/11/2021, she organized a walkathon for the C. Dolores Tucker Legacy branch of the ASALH to honor both Dr. Tucker's legacy and the victims of 9/11 attack on our nation. In her spare time, if she has any, she loves researching, debating politics, gardening, cooking, traveling, and connecting with friends and family. Matters of Faith family, would you welcome with me tonight my guest, not for the first time, not for the second time, but for many times, and my dear friend, Dr. Sharon Khan.
Well, Dr. Khan, you can come on now. I got you all lined up and stuff. We stopped to share, just you and I. Good evening.
I hear you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Hey, you're perfectly fine.
Okay, good, good.
Let me do this. Let me do this. Since I've read the bio and everybody
hmm
knows who you are, they've heard what what you do and all that kind of stuff. But I want to ask you if you would tell us something about you that we don't know and we really should know.
Oh my God, what you
Yeah, what we don't know and we really
that you
should.
don't know. Um, um, like I said, I do travel, and I have a goddaughter who is from Turkey. She's Turkish,
Okay.
and she got married in the United States many years ago, and she wanted to have a reception in Turkey. And
Hmm.
she said, Mama, because, I'm a second mother, she wanted me to go to Turkey. I said, oh, no, I can't. That's too much. I can't do that. But I ended up traveling to Turkey by myself.
Okay.
I went over there just to attend her reception. She wanted to have a reception after she got married. And it was interesting because if you don't know anything about Turkey, Turkey is on two continents. Okay, they have a European side. Istanbul is on the European side, and they have an Asian side. So it's split between two continents. And I had to take a ferry to the Asian side. Of course, that's where the reception was. It couldn't be on the European side. Got on the ferry on a Friday night, and the ferry ended, not, I'm a New Yorker, so I think everything should stay open, all night. The ferry actually ended at 8:30, but I knew that I would be on the Asian side longer than that. And it didn't bother me that, I may have gotten stuck or whatever. But I got on the ferry all dressed up. And a lot of the workers worked in Istanbul, but they lived on the Asian side. So I
Okay.
was the only one dressed up on the ferry going over to the Asian side to attend this reception. Couldn't speak Turkish, everybody's looking at me and I'm just smiling, smiling, smiling. But I do things like that. And I think coming from New York, I'm just fearless. I can go anywhere. So that's
I
just,
like that word, fearless. I like that. I like,
yeah, 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 you know,
yeah. That's amazing. That is something I didn't know. I didn't know that. And I know
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
we talk.
That's actually the first time I actually traveled by myself. And I happened to pick the country of Turkey to travel to.
Okay.
And that was interesting. I don't think I'll do something like that again, not that far. But
That's a good little
yeah,
way to travel.
yeah,
It's a good
yeah.
little way to travel.
Yes, 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 it was.
And then when you get there and you don't speak the language,
Hmm.
that makes it even more challenging because then you really can't necessarily talk to people the way you would want to.
Yeah, but I have this big smile, so I think the smile worked. And there were people there that did speak English, but not on that ferry. I don't think a single soul spoke English when I took that ferry over to the Asian side of Turkey.
Now, when you say the Asian side, is that what's their language?
I mean, they're Turkish, the same people, the Istanbul is split on two sides.
Okay.
One side is they call it the European side, and the other side, which is still Istanbul, is on soon as you cross that waterways, they say that's the Asian side of
Hmm.
of Turkey. So, that was a surprise to me because who would have thought, that it
Interesting.
would be on two different continents, but it is.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And Turkey has had some terrible earthquakes.
Yeah, I know.
Antakya is like in the middle of Turkey, south of Istanbul. And they've had terrible, terrible earthquakes there. So it's a very volatile. It's not far from, Iraq, Iran, Syria is all in that cut, um, but it's pretty safe for the most part.
Yeah. I know we do a lot of work with the with the Rotary Club that I'm with. We do
Hmm.
international work, and a lot of the stuff. Anytime something like that happens over there, we rally around, and then we get resources, take to those places, those countries, and
Hmm.
a lot.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a lot going on overseas, now.
Lots and lots and lots. Well, welcome. I'm glad to see you. I'm glad to have you tonight. And
Thank
today
you.
is such an
Thank you.
interesting topic that we got to talk about. Stay connected. That's an
Okay.
interesting topic. I know you read the article. And I've read it tonight, so that everybody's
Hmm.
on the same page. But the thing that interests me is that I wrote it from pretty much from a theological perspective, looking at it
Hmm.
from a Christological perspective, even because
Hmm.
Jesus talks about I am the vine, you are the branches, and he talks about being connected. But being connected also has a much broader reach than that, because as particularly this is Black History Month. So
Hmm.
there's precedent in being connected to a lot of different things. Obviously, the most important is the connection we have with the Lord because we're talking about eternal things.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
in a limited sense or in a finite sense, there's still a reason to be connected
Hmm.
in many different areas. And I'm glad that you're with us because you are what I call my historian and know this stuff well. And so
Mm.
glad to have you tonight to discuss this. So, what were your thoughts when you read the article and you agreed to come on without knowing what the heck you were going to be talking
Well, I read the articles every Sunday morning, so um it covers a lot. It really does cover a lot because um one of the things that I've been talking to with my family is staying connected, family staying connected.
about?
We have a tendency to stray away from each other, you know. Um we have this generational gap that's quite different from the way I grew up. I'm from New York. I'm from a small town in Westchester, and we were very connected. Everybody knew everybody, you know, and the world is not like that today. And on a broader scope, I do a lot of work with individuals around on a global level, you
Mhm.
know, and that connection is kind of severed, as well in terms of who do we support. You were looking at the Israeli-Hamas situation, etc. You know, um, and everybody's taken a side. Do you support the Palestinians? Do you support the Israelis? Etc. So I'm looking at it, on a global level, because I think that that's fractured as well. But more importantly, on a local level, in terms of our families are very disconnected. And I was talking to my son today about a situation, where some family members were not connected. And that's one of the things that we have to get back, really get back to. This is Black History Month, and we always have I'm a Malcolmite, and we
Mhm.
always have a program to talk about the things that Malcolm talked about years ago. And Malcolm had 10 tenets that he, basically espoused when he was with the OAAU. And I was looking at a couple of them. One dealt with free Black Americans from economic oppression. help create more job opportunities, um, restore communication locally and globally, okay, and stimulate international economic and political awareness. These are some of the things that he wanted Blacks to do. And if you think about the way we grew up years ago, as I said before, we were very, very connected.
Hmm.
Nowadays, young folks don't talk to older folks, they don't want to listen. We don't want to listen to them.
Right, right,
And
right, right.
we have to get back to that communal, you know, aspect of how we grew up. We have to listen to each other. We have to learn from each other. We have to do some of the things. And I tell folks, as you mentioned in my bios, I was a banker. I was a New York banker. And banking was very simple back in the day. But one of the things that we learned how to do is we learned how to save money. We're not doing that. We're not investing. We're not pulling our resources together like we should. So that connectivity means a lot to me in a lot of different areas. If we want to survive as an African American group, let's say, we have to do more things collectively. And those are some of the ideas that I drew from your article about staying connected. Because if you have, when the branches start falling off, okay, when the leaves start falling off, if you don't know how to replant, I grow plants. I have a lot of plants in my house. And I know how to take care of them. But if I stop feeding them, if I stop watering them, if I don't give them sunshine, they're all gonna die.
Mm,
And that's how I look at people today. We need to feed each other with educational advice, financial advice. We need to put all that together.
mm.
Okay, so those are some of the things that came to my mind when we talked about or when you talked about, staying connected.
You
You
know,
know,
it's interesting. You said a couple of things, and certainly I like the idea and the thought that you presented about saving and investing, and we're not doing that. We're not working on our economic advancement nor our economic freedom. And
yeah.
and yeah, I remember your days in banking because you gave me my first credit card. I'll never forget. Uh,
Everybody says that.
but that, it was interesting. You said because the banking games changed.
Yeah.
You used to be able to make those decisions locally and get some things done, but
Mhm.
now those things have changed. They're more corporate driven, and some people are locked out. And now your credit rating, if it doesn't meet a certain score, you can't. I don't care who you can't get in. So they kind of keep you out that way. So if you don't know the game, then it's difficult to play. And so
Mhm.
if you know the game, but if you don't know the rules, it's difficult to play. And if you
Yeah.
can't get in the game, you can't play at all.
Mhm.
It's a
Mhm.
challenge.
Mhm.
And I,
Mhm.
I was speaking with someone yesterday, and I was talking about a ministry that I used to do called Jesus Makes the Difference Crusade Ministry, working with ex-offenders, uh,
Okay. Mhm.
establish their businesses because people who are coming out of jail are all of the things I just mentioned and some, because
Mhm.
they generally don't have an opportunity to get in the game, and then you have this mark against you because you're an ex-offender, right?
Yeah. Right.
And so sometimes they use that as a way to
The
keep you out
stigma.
completely.
Mhm.
So I was saying to her, I said, what's interesting is that in jail, while you're there, you have the luxury of one thing that most people don't have that's out here working and scrambling every day. You had time to think.
Time. Yeah. You have that time to read and think.
Right. So when I was doing this ministry, helping people to think about developing their businesses, they had already thought about them. Now I'm just trying to help them put it together in a plan so that it
Mhm.
makes sense so that you can now present it to people. Because if you have
Mhm.
your own business, nobody cares if you were ever in jail. In
Mhm.
fact, being in jail might be a benefit to some.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
but the interesting thing is I said to her, I had a thought the other day. I said, what about if you go into jails and
Mhm.
you begin teaching them how to evaluate and purchase stocks, bonds, securities, commodities,
Mhm.
etc.
Mhm.
They come out, they can then take a little, I don't care if you got $25. You can invest using things like Cash App.
Mhm.
Click and you can buy if you know how to analyze and evaluate, you can literally make that your full-time job.
You can't, yeah, yeah, yeah. But as a banker, things were a lot, 40 years ago, things were a lot simple. They was very simple. Okay. You had savings account books,
Mm-hmm.
CDs if you want to CDs. Maybe you did, dabble in the stock market, etc. No one's teaching people these things anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They're not teaching them. I learned when we started off in elementary school, we had a savings account book in elementary school. And that's where I learned how to save. It just, I just liked the fact that I could save and buy something for myself. So I was always an individual who's very interested in the economic financing, the ability to save to buy your own. And 40 years ago, when the banking industry basically collapsed, they took all that away. It
Right.
took away the savings books. Everything now is ATM automatic. Blah, 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 blah. Very recently, banks have said, wait a minute. We have to help people learn how to save. We have to pay more interest on these savings accounts. So now, in the last, I would say 6 months, interest rates have gone up on regular basic savings account. You don't have to have a CD. You don't have to put it in long term. You may have to put it online because they're not bringing back the passbooks. I prefer the passbooks. Banking was regulated 9 to 5, 9 to 3, banks closed. We didn't have any weekend banking. So you were very disciplined. You took all the money out that you needed by Friday because you knew that you couldn't get any money until Monday. So that all changed with ATM. So now we're so unregulated, we're undisciplined now. But I'm telling folks, I said, now there are many companies now that are paying, going back to that 5% basic interest. That's a lot of money. Okay, because for years and years and years, you weren't earning any interest on a checking account. So what was the incentives? So let's start with that. Let's just start with a basic savings account so you can see your money grow. And once that happens, because you don't want to jump into an unsecured arena, stocks and bonds are unsecured. They're not protected by FDIC. So you want to have most of your money in a savings account that's protected up to $250,000, okay? And then you can start, investing into the market because you don't want to lose. And it takes a long time for you to understand how to work that market. You have Jim Cramer, you have different shows on TV that will give you a hint, but you need to have the bulk of your money in a secured account. That's how I look at it. And then your play money, okay, then you can go into the stock market. Do it that way. All right. I think we need to have more investment clubs where people really get together. You have book clubs. That's cute. What about investment clubs where people sit down and they can talk about, I can tell you what I've done. I've been a single parent most of my life, but I went to school. I took advantage of tuition reimbursement in schools. Okay. I got 2 degrees. All my degrees were financed primarily by the businesses that I work for. Okay. I bought 2 homes. I have 2 homes fully paid for. And you don't do these things unless you really take time to sit down and plan. You have to plan everything. You have to give up stuff. You can't keep spending, spending, and spending. Warren Buffett, one of my heroes, he said, why do people buy new cars every year? I have one of my colleagues, she said, oh, I have to have a new car every 2 years. I said, well, cars depreciate in value. Your home is going to appreciate. You buy a piece of property, you get a good deal on it, it's going to appreciate. Your car is gone. So I'm trying to, talk to people to get them to understand we have to start making sacrifices. We're not making those sacrifices.
But we have to understand also that there are things that are termed commodities, right? That wear out. Find yourself investing in things that wear out.
Yeah.
They don't have appreciating value. So you have to do that. Savings accounts, because you start at a certain level. And what I was starting with when I talked about going into the prison systems and teaching individuals how to access the stock market, all that stuff, because they have time. They can play with it.
They can play,
long time, right? They can play. They can read. They can play.
They can do it with play money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when they come out now, they can participate. But here's the thing that's interesting to me in terms of the methodology of saving and investing and things like that. and using or buying things that don't have real value, but we do it all the time. Buying a new car every year, every other year, and they literally buying it. I mean, you
Yeah.
literally spending all of this money to buy a car
Mm-hmm.
that literally is going to depreciate.
Yeah.
You're using all of your money to do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely
Mm-hmm.
0 cents.
Yeah.
Use all of your money to buy something that's not going to have any value
Mm-hmm.
in another few years,
Mm-hmm.
and you've paid top dollar for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You lose. I've been a big proponent of I leased cars, right? Because I said,
Mm-hmm.
why would I spend money? I can get a tax deduction for the money that I spend for a lease car.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then at the end of the lease, if I want to get another car, I do. It's in my
Mm-hmm.
budget. It's what I
Mm-hmm.
spend. And just recently, when COVID struck,
Mm-hmm.
give you a little, this little like this financial kind of a scenario that took place, which was highly unusual. This doesn't happen often.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Car that I leased, the lease expired. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'll get another car, get another lease.
Mm-hmm.
But as it turned out, the company that I bought the car from no longer is making cars. They're only making SUVs.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
want
Mm-hmm.
SUV. I want a car.
Mm-hmm.
My
Mm-hmm.
car is also a hybrid. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
real used to not spending a lot of money to buy gasoline.
Right.
Right. I mean, I fill my tank up at a half a tank of gas, and I will spend $22 to fill it up, and I'll drive for 150, 160
Mm-hmm.
miles on a half
Mm-hmm.
a tank of gas for $20. Right. I'm,
Mm-hmm.
I'm used to that now. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want a car. I don't want a truck, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't want something that's going to be a gas guzzler. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking around to see what's out there. Everything that I saw that was out there that I was interested in was 70, $80,000.
Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm.
Spending 70 or $80,000 on a car. It has one purpose to get me
Mm-hmm.
from where I am to where I want to go,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I
Mm-hmm.
may be a little bit more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole purpose of a car. So I looked around, I talked to my dealer, the guy that I bought all of my cars from. He said, "Well, Lauren, you've had the car since it was brand new. Why don't you just buy it?"
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Idea." So I looked online to see what my car would cost
Mm-hmm.
if I bought it used.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
During COVID, buying a new car was extremely difficult because they couldn't get this one particular chip that goes into the
Yeah.
get it because it was manufactured in China. They couldn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was on back order.
Mm-hmm.
So used cars prices went way up.
Way up. They went up. Mm-hmm.
So the car that I was looking at that I had in my possession,
Mm-hmm.
when you lease a car, they give you, if you want to buy it out after your lease, they give you a buyout price.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I looked at the buyout price and I looked at the cost if I were to buy it at a lot.
Mm-hmm.
If I'd have bought it in the lot, it cost me $36,000.
Mm-hmm.
The buyout price was 20.
Wow.
I would have been a fool
Mm-hmm.
to give that car up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as I said deal,
Mm-hmm.
I made $15,000.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That doesn't happen on a regular basis. But
Mm-hmm.
if I wasn't aware, if I wasn't looking at and examining what was going on, I could have missed that opportunity
Mm-hmm.
that I would have saddled with a debt that I didn't need to have for a
Yeah.
car that's going to do exactly the same thing of the car that I have now.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
again, being aware, the
Mm-hmm.
lack of knowledge is a dangerous thing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know. And then you don't know where to get it at.
Mm-hmm.
So when I wrote this article this week, staying connected, all of those thoughts came to mind because being connected means that you're connected to the source where the information
Yeah.
you're not connected, you miss opportunities because you're not connected. And then you begin to dry out. You begin to get, stale. You begin to get disappointed. You get discouraged because things aren't working out the way you want them to or the way that you think that they can. But that's because you disconnected yourself.
Yeah.
Not that anybody did it to you, but you disconnected yourself. You stopped doing the research. You stopped looking around. And you talked about that. You said, I got all of my degrees. I got student aid. I got tuition reimbursement, all of those because you were connected to the system and knew how to utilize.
And even you mentioned hybrid cars, and I've done a lot of research on that too as well. one of the things that I'm cautioning people about, if you're going to buy a hybrid car, the average battery in a hybrid car only lasts 8 years. Okay, and that's number one. Number two, if your car is in an accident, 9 times out of 10 is total. And what's going on in California right now, they don't even want to insure electric cars anymore because of that fact that the batteries are dying. And if you're in an accident, the whole car is being totaled. So what a lot of the industry, the automotive dealers are doing, or automotive industry is, and the cost of the battery replacement is astronomical.
Yes.
You're talking about 1,500 to eight. Now, some people, depending on the car, you may pay $5,000 for a battery. I'm used to going to AutoZone getting a battery. I'm not used to, so that's where my mindset is. So when I started looking at hybrid cars, I'm looking at all the pieces. I'm looking at how many auto mechanics can deal with hybrid cars. A friend of mine has a hybrid, and it took him a month to find someone who could work on that car because a lot of the mechanics today have not gone back to school. So that's one of the things that you have to look at. Where are the charging stations? If you're driving somewhere, are there enough charging stations for you to be able to?
Well, hybrids don't do that.
Well, not the hybrids, the electric cars.
Electric car.
Electric. But it's
Well,
all part of that. Listen, in the hybrid
electric
car,
cars.
you have two batteries.
I have more than that.
You have more than two in your car? More than two batteries? See, these are things that people don't, you have to know.
Oh yeah.
You
They
know,
are
is it the regular
loaded with
battery?
batteries.
How many batteries do you have in
I have
your car?
no idea. They're
Well,
all over the place.
all right, listen to
They're
me.
all over the place.
Typically in a hybrid car, you're going to have two batteries. If the car does not start, first of all, you have to determine, is it the regular battery or is it a hybrid battery? Okay. And AAA can't figure that out. My cousin just went through that in California. So what I'm saying to people is, if you're going to buy a hybrid car, if you're going to buy an electric car, make sure you understand that. If you're going to buy a car and you're trying to keep it, like I keep my cars forever because but if I try to sell it, the person buying it, they're going to spend an extra $1,500 or $2,000 just on the just to replace the battery. And that's not something that people are prepared to do. But like you said, that's all part of research, all part of connectivity. You have to stay connected. Okay, we're in the 21st century now. This is a different time and a different place. I still have friends that don't use computers, don't
Right.
use internet. Okay, I don't know how people can live without the internet today. That's just me, but there are people out there, and you say that they don't think they're missing anything. They think that their life is okay the way it is. Okay, trying to live, like you're an analog guy or girl in a digital world, and the two don't mix. The two don't mix. I have a cousin who's in California. She had to move in with someone who is an analog guy. He has no cable, no internet, none of that. She hasn't had her TV on in like 3 months. So she's getting ready to move. She's moving out next week, but he's okay like that. You know what I'm saying? But, who wants to be? I can't go to someone's home if they don't have the internet. That's just not, I can't do it, because this that's the first thing I add. What is your Wi-Fi code kind of thing. But there are people that live like that, and it's so in their world it's fine.
Well, I mean, it's some people, the technology moving from one space to another
Yeah, yeah.
is scary to them.
It is scary.
So, and I get that, there's
Mhm.
a lot of things that they don't understand. And then of course, the vulnerability, because if
Mhm.
you don't understand it, it does make you vulnerable because people who do understand it could take advantage of you just like that because you don't know, you don't know. I know a lot of people still don't know how to use an ATM machine.
Yeah,
They don't. They just like
yeah.
to do just I just go to the bank and I'll talk.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I get that.
Mhm.
But eventually, and this is one of the things. That's our connectivity. Let me put this back into the connectivity piece. I've been challenging a lot of younger people to adopt someone who's older, who's like you said, analog,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And show
Mhm.
them how to exist and live in your world.
Yeah.
because your world is the world in which they live in, whether they like it or not.
Yeah.
They have to know how to navigate, even if it's on a basic level. And
Hmm.
what happens if you do that, then number one, you do help them to understand a world that they just can't fathom, right? The
Hmm.
digital world, this cyber world that we live in. Number two, you actually bridge a communication gap. You
Hmm.
talked about it. You talked about the generation divides.
Hmm.
That bridges the divide because they're actually talking to each other.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
showing them how they communicate with each
Hmm.
other in their world by
Hmm.
texting.
Hmm.
So
Hmm. Yeah.
from senior world, don't text.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, you be texting. Call me on the
I,
phone.
I
And
know.
kids, they don't call you on the phone. They won't even. If you talk to them, they're like, "Why are you talking to me?" They
Yeah.
text each other and text each other, sitting right next to each other because
Hmm.
the world in which they
Yeah.
live and that's where they grown up at. That's what
Hmm.
they understand.
Hmm.
So adopt a senior and show them how to navigate in that world
Hmm.
so that this individual can get connected back to what we now know is reality, whether you like it or not.
But I'm in that age bracket where most of my friends are connected. They have to be in order to be my friend, really, because that's where I tell them you have to be here. But then I have some friends who um, are not connected and will never be connected. One of my dearest friends, in Mount Vernon, New York, who's the former director of the Boys Club, when Denzel Washington was there, um, he he will not connect to anything. He doesn't have a cell phone. You
I
know,
know him, right? I've had him on my show, haven't I?
did you did Billy Thomas? You had Billy Thomas, or you had
No,
Peter
no, I didn't have
Bailey?
the. I had, but what's his name? The other gentleman who's
Peter Bailey.
I had Peter Bailey. No, there's another one too. That's
Oh,
not connected to anything.
oh yeah, and and is this house phone, landline phone? I'm actually working with him to for him to publish his memoirs. You
That's
know,
him. That's him. We'll
and
go.
he sent me. I have a whole binder like this thick, full of pictures, full of stuff. And I have three friends that I bought tape recorders for. William Thomas,
Mhm.
A. Peter Bailey, and a friend of mine, Glenn Jones, who lost his eyesight. I mentioned him to you in he's in Seattle, Washington. And I told all of them, just talk in the tape recorder, old-fashioned tape recorder, nothing new, the same one we had, 40, 50 years ago. But trying to get them to do something different, even like that, it's so difficult. William Thomas is not going to change. He still sends a Christmas card. He still writes this. If he needs to get something by email, he has another friend. You got to send it to the friend to get. He's not going to change. And some people, you just have to work around. You have to go around. And he has so many wonderful stories. There's a clip on YouTube with him and Denzel is talking about the boys club, and Billy Thomas gets on the bus. It's still there. You can see it. Um, and all of the other individuals that he mentored, throughout the years. I was 15 years old when I met Billy Thomas. And he picked me out of everybody in the town and started cheerleading squad. I was only 15. How do you pick somebody out of everybody in the town, to start to do something? But that was the beginning of our relationship, and we're still very close to this day. But he refuses to change. Peter Bailey, on the other hand, he does have a cell phone, hallelujah, cable, he can do that, but there's certain things that you just can't get some people to do, and you just have to try to go around them as much as you can. That's
Right.
the only thing. Because like my cousin she lived in Hollywood, California. Everything was set up there. She sold a house. She was staying with a friend, a Neanderthal, as I call him, Jim the Neanderthal, and he didn't have cable. And I showed her, I tried to talk her into, getting cable, getting her phone, getting all these things. She just gave up. So
Mm.
now she's moving into her own place. And I said, just call the cable company up. They'll come and hook you up. She wants her landline. She doesn't like the cell phone. So there's certain groups of people. I think we should just leave them where they are, because you're not going to get them to change. They'll make too many mistakes. I tell people now, even with cell phones, this facial recognition, stop doing that. Don't have facial recognition. I don't have any of that here. Because what they're doing, I don't know, it happened in Greenwich Village in New York. I think it was last summer when a bunch of guys, they were gay guys, and they had met up with some folks at a bar, whatever, and the guys were, drugging them and then getting their cell phone, putting it up in front of their face, open up their cell phone, and that's how they were able to access all of their money. I just tell people online is okay, but you have to be careful about what you're putting on your cell phone. Now, everybody's using their cell phone as their debit card. I don't believe in any of that. Okay, because there's so many ways that people can manipulate your data and steal your data from you. So with that facial recognition, all you have to do is put it up in front of someone and say smile. If I'm smiling like this, if they recognize my face, that's how they open up their cell phones. So some things are good and it may save you some time, but you have to be so astute and on top of everything. You have to have security codes on your bank account. I have limits on my debit cards, on my credit cards. Anything goes over that limit, I'm gonna get a message, on my cell phone or on my watch or something like that. So there are ways that we can protect ourselves. But I think for individuals who just refuse, to open up, get a debit card or ATM machine, I just leave them alone. I just leave them alone. But the problem today is banks are not friendly anymore. Banks don't have, a lot of branches are closing, you have to go a longer distance just to get to a bank, to go to a bank. So they're not really friendly anymore. So everything now is online. And if you're not a person that's online, I have friends that won't touch Facebook. They won't go anywhere near Facebook. No social media accounts. And it's difficult because I like to share information with my close friends, and for them to say, oh, I don't, why is it complicated? You can restrict certain things. You don't have to, post certain pictures or whatever, but some people are so intimidated, that they just refuse to open up, refuse to learn anything new. And that's how they're going to, and I kind of leave them alone. I can't, it's, and you also have to remember too, as you age, dementia sets in, Alzheimer's sets in. And one thing I do know, people are very protective of their money. Anything that deals with, my bank accounts or showing me ATM, I just leave them alone. I really do. I just tell them, if you don't know how to do it, just let it go. But the banks are making it difficult because, we had savings passbooks, we had Christmas clubs, we had, that little book. It was hard to forward somebody's signature. You had to go into the bank, fill out a withdrawal ticket, all of that now, show ID, all of that's gone. So it's very difficult for seniors, to navigate this new world today without help. And they don't want people helping them. They don't even want their children helping them.
That's true. That's why I was saying that, younger people, if you adopt them,
Mhm.
not don't talk about their finance. Having been, I did financial services, right? So
Mhm.
when a person begins to share with you their finances, they'll tell you about everything else because
Yeah.
nothing is
Yeah.
is as private to them as their
Yeah.
reason, their
Yeah.
finance. So, but if you show them how to navigate, let's say, the social media world, right?
Mhm.
Facebook page, a
Mhm.
Twitter, right?
Mhm.
Or
Mhm.
X, whatever, but show them how to do that. Then
Mhm.
suddenly they are able to sort of open up a little small space in
Mhm.
this area because the truth of the matter is it's very difficult, and you've said it many times just now. It's
Mhm.
very difficult to live in this world without being connected in some
Yeah.
way with with the cyber reality that we live in. We
Yeah.
live in a cyber world, and that's just the way it. And it's not. We're not going to go back. We're
Yeah.
not going back. We're not going to go back to passbook savings accounts. We're not going to go back to having
Mhm.
CDs. We're not going back to
Yeah.
that. I mean, when I was a kid, I had a passbook savings account.
Hmm.
I bought my first bicycle with the
Hmm.
money that I had in my.
Right. Hmm.
I felt good about that because it was my money that I put in the bank that
Hmm.
I could watch. I remember going to the bank on a regular basis. It was right down the street from where I live. And I used to go in there and talk to the officers, the people at the bank branches. And they said, "Oh, he's so cute. He likes this."
Hmm.
I like that. I liked,
Right.
and I could see what was going on.
Yeah.
That was amazing. That was an amazing thing. But
Hmm.
they're not going back to that. So
Hmm.
you either have to learn how to navigate
Hmm.
or it's going to kill you.
Hmm.
Literally,
Hmm.
literally.
Hmm.
You need to get that help because if not, then what will happen is you'll be online doing something and you'll get this message saying, I can help you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you do
Give
that,
me your
they
social.
will take exactly, they will
Yeah.
take everything that you have from every account in your life and leave you busted, disgusted, and ready to kill yourself.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, that's why you have to know because you then try to get connected through all the wrong sources.
And not just online, on the phone every day, people call you up, all kinds of scams and things. Even if you try to go get a Western Union or MoneyGram or something like that, they do ask you those sensitive questions. But like I said, I train young people. I'm in post-secondary vocational training, and we have a lot of young folks that come in. We have older folks that come in too, because now they want to learn.
Mhm.
Those are the ones that are willing and they're ready and they want to learn. And it's not that complicated, but you have to, I have a friend who um, also is not computer literate or anything like that. And I said, no, I'm going to teach you and he's a musician, and all of his friends use an iPad for their music. And he's still grabbing papers and trying to put the papers together, whatever. And I said, listen, what you need to do, I want you to get all of your music together and I want you to copy it because I don't want you to send anything to me that's not copied. Just he has a copy machine, copy everything and send it to me. I'm going to put it together. I'm going to get an iPad for you, put it on an iPad and show you how to use the iPad because if all the musicians are doing that, why can't you? You're a musician and you know what I'm saying? So you should be able to do the same thing. You know what it really mean you have to be around someone that's willing to uh, help you out, somebody that you trust, that you have confidence in. It's not going to laugh at you because, a lot of it is like, I've gone this far. I'm too embarrassed to ask for help. I'm
Mm.
too embarrassed. It's not that they don't want the help, but they're too embarrassed. They won't take the time to sit down and learn certain things. And that's what I do. I can sit a person down and just say, okay, we're going to start from A to B because I'm going to teach you. I've taught people how to get on Zoom.
Mm.
This phenomenon just really happened the last, since the pandemic. And a lot of folks, oh, but I'm willing to take the time to sit down with you and show you how to do this. And you have to follow up too, because you can't show them one time. They're not going to remember that. But you have to, make sure when you leave them, they're comfortable enough to be able to do it. And so that part is done. But there are a lot of folks that I'm seeing now, you know, and I could just tell through conversations because I could talk to someone and determine whether or not you have an email account, you like online banking or whatever it is that we do, in that regard. Some people just go on Facebook. They just
Mhm.
go on social media accounts and they do nothing else. If you have a computer, they don't know how to use a computer.
Right.
All they know how to do is go on Facebook, and that's all they can do. So I'm trying to show people that there's more to life than just doing that. You can write letters. You can have, Microsoft Office applications. There are a number of things that you can do. Set your bills up. I put everything in my computer. All
Mm.
my projects, all my bills, all the things that I want to do. If I want to, fix something in the house, I said, let me put the budget in there and see how it's going to look. For retired individuals, how many people have a budget? How many people know before they retire how much money they're going to have when they do retire and whether or not that's going to be enough to take care of all their bills? They say for every $100 a white person has, Black folks have $15. Okay. When you're ready to retire, what kind of assets do you have? Do you have any assets? Some people go through life and they turn around and they're 65 and they don't have anything. Did you buy a house? Did you take out a second mortgage? Is it going to be free and clear? These are all the things that I'd like to talk to people about, in terms of planning for the future. We're not dying as young as we used to die. We're living to be 75, 85, 95, maybe even 100. So even if you retire, the retirement age now is 67, 68, depending on, when you were born. Some people are working like myself. I'm still working, Yes, and why? Because I can. I can do all these things. I had so many meetings between last week and this week. I had a group of Saudi Arabians coming in here and had a discussion with them. And everybody on my team, they're like, "Oh, we don't want to handle. That's too complicated." No, 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 no. I can handle this. I had a young lady who's from Vietnam come in the office today, and trying to get the young Vietnamese. Getting them to take more applications, more programs, medical assistant. Everybody wants to do that now. I have a group from Honduras that, when are you coming down to Honduras? So now I have 3 trips pending, one in Honduras, one in Vietnam, one in Saudi Arabia, So it's good. And then I have a meeting with a young lady this coming Friday who wants to open a school in Maryland. So these are all the things that I do. These are extra things that I do. And why? Because I can. Because it's not just um, um, when people think about retiring, they just think about dropping, flopping, and that's all they're going to do. They get disconnected.
Right.
And I'm trying to tell my friends, we all still need, even if you're not working, we still need to be connected. There's still some things that we can do collectively.
Right. That's a good segue for me. So you notice that I changed my screen a little bit. I've got something up there, and what I want to do now is I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna disappear for a second, and then what we'll do is I'm going to introduce. You can do likewise. I'm going to just recognize sponsors and advertisers. I'm also going to reread the article and then ask that challenge question again so that the audience can now engage in this conversation with us. And we've been talking about a lot of different things. We've been talking about being connected in a lot of different ways, but I want to go back and look at the theological perspective. That's the Christological way of looking at connectedness with Christ and in that way. But then we'll finish out our conversation that way. So let's do that. So I'm off screen already, so you can do likewise. Please don't forget our sponsors and advertisers, the JLR Company and J. Lauren Russell Consulting, LLC. For all of your church financial consulting needs, we have a website, www.jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. That's jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. Or telephone us at 718-328-8096, 718-328-8096. If you need a church loan, if you need to develop your property, if you want to know how to maintain your church property, if you need to train your trustees, if you need evangelism training, give us a call. We'll help. It's not about the castle. It's about the kingdom. Matters of Faith, the book. Through our Cash App, $ Matters of Faith, the book is $23.92. You can send your check or money order to the Post Office Box 301, New York, New York 10035. That's Post Office Box 301, New York, New York 10035, and address it to the JLR Company. You can also get it as an ebook. Just go to www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. Once again, www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. Check out the Eat Okra app for all Black-owned restaurants all over the nation. Yes, that's right. Eat Okra. And then subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. We are now broadcasting Matters of Faith on our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Subscribe, like, and share it with a friend. And also, get your subscription to Better Mag magazine today. A 2-year subscription is only $27.50. Go to www.abettermag.com. That's www.abettermag.com.
And now the article for the last time tonight, Stay Connected, which can be found in my column, Matters of Faith, at the Bronx Chronicle, www.thebronxchronicle.com, Yonkers Insider, www.yonkersinsider.blogspot.com. The column is also carried in Better Mag Magazine, www.abettermag.com, and Pamela's Big Heart newsletter. Stay connected. John chapter 15, verses 4 through 7, New English Translation. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. Just as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it remains in the vine, so neither can you unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. The one who remains in me and I in him bears much fruit, because apart from me you can accomplish nothing. If anyone does not remain in me, he is thrown out like a branch and dries up, and such branches are gathered up and thrown into the fire and are burned up. If you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask whatever you want, and it will be done for you. Stay connected. The scripture suggests that staying connected to the vine is a choice. We first get the option to be connected by receiving Christ as our Lord and Savior. Then we get the option to stay connected. The scripture further declares those who choose to stay connected will forever be connected to God the Father through Christ the Son. God, the vine, has never been guilty of disconnecting himself from the branch. It is always the branch that chooses to disconnect from the vine. Whenever anyone disconnects, their ability to bear fruit ends immediately. I'm sure they can still do some things, but they will not be able to bear the fruit Jesus talks about if they are not connected to the vine. The vine, Christ, is the source of life that produces salvific fruit that opens the portal to everlasting life in the kingdom of God. No one can produce that kind of fruit if they are disconnected from the vine. Productive branches, like productive Christians, are cared for and nurtured. They are fed through the vine and pruned by the gardener so they produce more fruit. The pruning process can be meticulous and painful because it requires cutting, snipping, clipping, and trimming. Pruning of Christian branches can come when leadership changes, ministries shift, finances are challenged, or people die. It's at that critical time, and those critical times, that the branch must stay connected to the vine. Pruning may result in the branch being cut off or cut back, but not cut off. The pruning process helps the branch reap a richer, more fruitful harvest. When branches are connected to the vine, fire, rain, storms, or floods can delay, but not prevent a fruitful harvest. The test suggests that Christians connected to the vine will have the same results if they ask for whatever they want, and it will be done for them. A connected branch is a metaphor of a believer being connected to the vine. A fruit-bearing Christian does the work of an evangelist by feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, and equipping the saints so that they too can have a fruitful ministry. I want you to recognize that disconnected branches are cut off of the tree and burned. Disconnected Christians are like disconnected branches, cut off and burned. They are no longer fruitful for the body of Christ and no longer productive for the church. When we are connected, Jesus makes us fruitful. Just as the vine nourishes the branches, Christ nourishes those who are connected to him. Whatever you decide to do, decide to be connected. Be blessed. And now here's my question. In what ways could you have disconnected yourself from the vine? Let me ask it again. In what ways could you have disconnected yourself from the vine? I don't have to do much to introduce my guest again for the second half of the show. She's dynamic, she's awesome, she's incredible, she's intellectual, she's activist, she's all of those plus. My dear friend, Dr. Sharon Khan. So that makes us back and living. Praise the Lord for that.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. So let me do this. Let me ask the question that I've asked the audience, because that's the significant here tonight. And that is this: in what ways could you have disconnected yourself from the vine? Now, we've been talking about it from a very in a practical way. look at all the ways that people disconnect themselves in different venues. And my article really talks about it from a Christological perspective, being disconnected from God. But if we can stay with the analogies that we've been using, talk about for a minute, Sharon, in what ways have people disconnected themselves from the vine? We started talking about it when we talked about, without naming them, people who refuse to move, they refuse to budge, they refuse to grow in certain areas. How could that be a sign that they're disconnected from the vine?
Well, I think it starts with family. I think that too often you have people who um, are disconnected from their loved ones, sisters, brothers, mothers, father, and you try to find comfort elsewhere, and it doesn't work, because that's your foundation, that's your foundational structure. There are people that don't believe in getting educated. You disconnect yourself from um, that curriculum that's so necessary, so important, just to help you make certain decisions. They're disconnected from the church. They're just disconnected, people who blame everybody for everything instead of themselves. They just stay the white man, I hate the white man, I hate this one, I hate that one. You just hate everybody. There's a lot of hate going on. But I just think the core starts at home. If you have a strong foundation, I mean, there are people out there, people can say to me, well, I have no parents. Okay, well, who are you closest to? Do you have mentors? Are you reaching out? Are you reaching to someone that you listen to? You can't just reach for something and then say you don't want to take that advice. I don't want to listen to them or whatever. But I think too many times we're just disconnected from individuals who um, are there to really help us, make a difference in our lives, in the things that we do, in the decisions that we make. And I mentioned earlier, I said I grew up in a world where everybody knew everybody.
Hmm.
So if you were a branch that fell off that tree, somebody was there before the branch broke. They're going to help you before. Now you may stray and you may, fall away from that tree. That branch may fall and you can't, sometimes you can't help everybody. We try to we spend a lot of time trying to help individuals, and I've done that for many, many, many years. I thought I could turn this person around, um, follow me, take my advice, but there's some people that they won't listen to you. I had a sister like that. She would not listen to me. I was a baby sister, so she was an older sister, and she just her whole life just went left.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I just couldn't pull her in the center. You can't make someone be you. And everybody said, oh, you came from the same parents or whatever. It doesn't matter. Some people, you just cannot get them to understand how important it is to do the right thing, you know. And I see some young folks, or I've known young people that always got into trouble.
Hmm.
No matter what you said to them, they always got into trouble and their life never changed. And
Hmm.
we spend so much money, so much time, so much energy trying to bring those individuals around. And sometimes you can't, So it just it breaks my heart when um, you're separated from your children, you know,
Hmm.
you're separated from your loved ones. It just breaks my heart because then who do you feel comfortable around? You know what I'm saying? If you separate yourself from your parents and your sisters and brothers, your relatives or whatever, and you go into this cult or you go into, you're with another group of people that you don't even know, and you
Hmm.
trust them more than you trust your own folks. What does that say about you? So sometimes you just have to cut people off. You can't, some people you're never gonna, even I don't care how much you love them, you're never gonna be able to get them to do what you want them to do. And it may not be something nefarious or something evil or something bad. I have relatives who just wanted to be by themselves.
Mm.
And I would say, come with us because I love having family gatherings, family reunions, gatherings, getting to know our family members. And they're people that and I had one cousin who the last time I was in New York, which was, the time before the last time I was in New York, wanted to take him out to lunch and he didn't want to go. And unfortunately, sometimes when you leave people alone, completely alone, that can be devastating too. So this same cousin, about a month ago, got on the train, went down to got off at Grand Central Station, ended up on the West Side, up in the 70s in Manhattan. And because he went to an apartment that had a doorman, this just happened. The doorman realized that he was, discombobulated, sat him down, found his cell phone. He didn't have his phone with him, called his brother and sister. They came and got him, and they had to put him in a nursing home,
Mm.
diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So this has been brewing for a long time. And my cousin and I, the one that lives in California, we were always saying, why don't you go get this cousin? Why don't you take him around? And the other one, oh, he wants to be by himself. See, I don't let people be by themselves for as long as I can. If there's a way to kind of get to them, at least check on them, but no one did. So we don't know how long his symptoms had been there. Finally, it crescendoed. It got to a point where he got on the train, didn't know where he was going, and ended up, in an apartment complex, and now he's in a nursing home. And he won't be able to come back. Because see, once you make that move, it's very difficult to let that person stay by himself. But his immediate family kind of said, oh, he just see, I'm going to do everything I can for as long as I can. It may be a mental issue. There are a lot of individuals who have undisclosed mental issues that have never been addressed from high school. And they're just kind of pushed out into the world. And I have relatives like that, and I try to keep my eye on them. I may not be able to be around them, but tell me, call me up if you're in a panicky situation. We'll try to get somebody there to help you. Because sometimes we just push people away and just say, oh, they'll be okay. No, 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 no. It's an enormous task for individuals to undertake. It really is very difficult, but people get disconnected, they run away, and sometimes you can bring them back, sometimes you can't, but my thing is do whatever you can. Try with the simple thing. Like a family reunion is fun. If I can get you to a family reunion, at least I can start talking to you.
Right.
Okay, maybe there's somebody there that you like. But if I can't get you to do that, the rest is almost, impossible.
Mm. Well, it's interesting. You said family, right? That's the first thing you started with. Is that disconnected from the family, if they're
Yeah.
because for people on a secular level, it has to be someone that you're close to. If not family, then who are you close to?
Yeah.
Because there has to be a connection with someone who can create and provide you some stability.
Yes.
It gets you grounded in something, because a lot of times if we go on our own, we can slide right off, and the abyss, if you will. But we got to have something. I know one of my friends told me once, he says, I'm never going to let you out of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what? He said, I'm never going to let you out of my life.
Mm-hmm.
We've been friends like all of our lives. And essentially, if anything happened to you, I don't know what's going to happen to me. So I'm going to keep you in my sight so I can keep you around. And that's a testament to the fact that we have to stay connected to something. If you think about it from a theological perspective, then you think about being connected to God, the source of all things. Out that connection, I mean, trying to do this on your own. And we live in a world, no one does anything on their own and by themselves. Everybody has to have some help to do something. Nobody's an island into everybody needs somebody to help them as it needs to get done.
we can't do it on our own. A lot of times we think we'd like to, but we can't.
I've been very fortunate to have the same mentors. As I said, Billy Thomas has been my mentor since I was 15 years old. I had my mom. In fact, today is the 17th year of her passing. She died 17 years ago today. Peter Bailey, we may fuss fight or whatever, but, um, I've had great mentors in my life. My aunts, some of my cousins, and they say I'm hard-headed, kind of thing. Sharon knows I don't know everything. There's a lot that I don't know about, and that's why I go to them. Peter and I are having a big discussion about Malcolm's philosophy. He believes he's a Pan-Africanist. I believe he was a great world leader. That's what he didn't just deal with issues relating to African Americans and Africans, but he was around the globe. He was in Palestine. He was in Saudi Arabia. I see myself like that, meeting people, being able to interact with people on a global level. So I've just, and I listen, I listen to them. When we talk, they give me advice. They've been here longer than I have. You have to have mentors that have been here longer than you, that may know more than you do. And I can give them, advice on economic issues, on financial issues, some other issues. You just have to find people that you can talk to that you feel comfortable with. Somebody that you may be able to call at 12 o'clock at night. Um, I have girlfriends that I contact when I need to contact them, and they contact me. Most of the friends I've had all of my life, all of my life. Most of my friends, I would say 80% of my friends, maybe 85% of the friends I have today were friends that I've had all of my life. And I use them for different things. One girl is a deaconess. Another friend of mine, had her own, individual issues, but she's still a friend of mine. I don't walk away from people because you had some personal issues years ago, kind of thing, because you can get something from all of these individuals. So I always tell folks, try to stay connected to the people that you grew up with. Sometimes you're going to meet people along the way. I'm not like that. You and I, I've known you for over 40 something years. That's a long time.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that. That's a
in,
long.
in today's world, that's a long time. And when I tell folks, how we met, it's very interesting. Um, but just to maintain that friendship over the years, it's remarkable. And I'm like that with my friends. I don't like some of my mom's friends. My mother was a very multicultural person. She was an elected official on the school board, and I sent out a picture today of her and a couple of her friends. One was Italian, one was Jewish, the other was black, and I used to call them the Cat Pack. They were so close, close, close. And two of them are still alive today. So now they're my friends. So we communicate on a regular basis, that kind of thing. One's still in New York, one lives in Manhattan, one lives in Florida. So it's like, if I'm going to New York, one would say, well, why don't you come by here? If I'm down in Florida, why don't you come by here, kind of thing. But I try to stay connected to all of these individuals. I'm still listening to the stories that they have of my mom, the things that they did that was so exciting back in the day. That's very interesting to me. So I just think people need to you have a foundational structure wherever you came from. I was just fortunate to come from a town where we knew everybody. We embraced everybody. Um, but your family structure to me is extremely, and you don't have to like everybody. You don't have to like everybody in your family, but you need to have, the majority and I tell people they're like four branches. You have your mother's side, there's two sides on your mother's side, you have your father's side, there's two sides on his side. So trying to my oldest son is like that. He stays in communication with somebody on all the branches that we have. My father's side, my mother's side, he's friends with everybody. He just wants to make sure everybody's connected in some kind of way. And that's how you pass on your legacy, because those are the ones who are going to tell your story. Your family members are going to tell you. You may have some friends that do it too, but basically, you want your children and your grandchildren, your great grandchildren. In many cases, you want them, or your nieces, your nephews, you want them to know your stories, you know. So that's why I try to stay as close to them as possible. If I'm doing something, and like in 20 during the pandemic, maybe in 2021, we had a Malcolm X presentation, and I got my cousins involved in that. One's a poet, you know, one's a director. I got them involved in that. One's a singer. I said, no, I need you to sing because I need you to be part of this production I'm putting together. You know, so you know, I try to use them as much as possible. So that's just my philosophy. I'm very family orientated, and I gave my brother a 70th birthday party back in November, surprise 70th birthday party down in North Carolina. And unfortunately, during that time that I was planning his party, I lost a brother. My other brother passed away. So now how can I make this work? Because, you know, the surprise party was in a different venue, but it was in North Carolina. So I said, you know what? I'm going to have both events the same weekend. I'm going to have my brother's surprise party, which was already planned and paid for, on Saturday. Sunday, we're going to have a memorial service for my other brother because he was in a nursing home. He didn't have a lot of friends, but the family was going to be there anyway.
Right.
As it turned out, it was, now I have this in the house that I have in North Carolina. We have this one room that looks like a little you know, it looks like a miniature church. It has stained glass windows and everything. It's so cute, you know. It can only hold about 40 people,
Okay.
but it was the perfect venue for my brother's memorial service on Sunday. So as it worked out, and that was my excuse for going down to North Carolina, because I kept saying, well, how am I going to go stay in my own house, which is my house down there, actually? And I'm giving my brother a surprise party, but it worked out because the other brother passed. So that was now my reason for coming down there, going shopping and doing all the things that we needed to do. But it was such a beautiful experience. And then my brother was a musician. Some of his friends came who were magicians as well, musicians as well, and they just played music at night, and it was just so spiritual. And just having the memorial service on Sunday, I was able to get my brother's daughters, who had never been around the family before in their entire life. Never, ever, ever. These young ladies are like in their 50s, right? You know, and got them to come. And just that spiritual, you know, atmosphere that was there. My brother's evangelist, so he, you know, presided over the service. It was just really phenomenal. It was really gorgeous.
Said something.
It worked.
One of our viewers said something, I said it's a good question she posed. She said, "The body of Christ is often disconnected, even within a church family."
Mhm. Yeah, it is.
And we go about reconnecting.
Mhm.
Now, you just said something that was along those lines, and then we're gonna keep it on the second. When I close out a little later, I'm gonna put the Christological the twist on it. But I like what we're talking about. I like what you're talking about. So I'm gonna continue on that vein. But talk about reconnection. How do you reconnect with people who have disconnected themselves? People who are truly disconnected and out of reach. How do you do that? How do we go about reconnecting ourselves? And then from a Christological perspective, you know, reconnecting with God if in fact you've separated
Mhm.
yourself.
Mhm. You know, I think the first thing, you know, I would do, what do you believe in? That's
Mhm.
the first thing I would ask. What do you believe in? What do you believe in? Are you a Christian? Do you believe in God? Are you atheist? You know, let's start at that core. Do you believe that you know, that there is a God that can help you, that can guide you, or whatever, you know? Um, and if you say, "Oh no, I do believe in God," so okay, so you do believe that there's a spirit beyond your reach, beyond your touch, etc. Um, and where do you see yourself?
Mhm.
What do you want that dash to be about? What's the dash about? You know, you were born, you die, but what's the death? What is your life going to be about? What is it that you want to be? What do you want to do? You know, and get them to start. And we don't need a long-term solution to anything, but just who are you? Who are you? And why are you so disconnected? Now, it could be many reasons. I had a bad experience with somebody. Um, it could be physical, it could be mental, it could be a lot of times it could be a mental disability. People just are disconnected because they just can't focus. And if you come around them, you really agitate them. So you have to find out, who are you? What do you believe in? What do you want? I'm going through this now with a person who lives alone in a very wealthy neighborhood in California. And just in talking to my cousin, he lives alone and he's very disconnected from everything. He's afraid of everything. And you have to get to the core of that. Is there any way I can help you? How can I help you overcome, your fear of XYZ? You can't leave if you're asking that question to a person. How do you connect them back? You have to find out what they believe in, what do they want, how can you get them from point A to point B? Don't try to get them around the home plate. That's not going to happen yet. Just try to find out what is the core. Why are you disconnected? Why are you are you miserable? Are you disconnected and you're happy? They may tell you, listen, I'm happy. I just don't want to be, I don't like people. I don't want to be around people. I don't want to help people. I don't want to do blah, 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 blah. But you got to get to the core of what their situation, if you can. Now, if it's a mental situation, that's very tricky. And I would say maybe at least 25% of the folks fall into that category. There's some kind of mental depression. There's a lot of depression out here. There's a lot of depression out here. During the pandemic, people who were living alone, um, were more inclined to drink, smoke, do things that they could do in the privacy of their home. But that's a serious issue. And some of these things, some of the issues you can't, unless you can refer somebody to a psychiatrist, a psychologist, but they're not going to go. They're not going to go.
Sometimes
So you just have to, if do you have a girlfriend? Do you have a boyfriend? Are you gay? Are you in the closet? You have to, you just have to find, there's some people who are just afraid to tell people who they are, what they are. Okay, you have a lot of individuals who haven't come out and they may be gay. Okay, and they still have that stigma. People are going to hate you, if you come out like that. So I'm going to stay in my little cocoon. I'm going to stay depressed because nobody loves me, and that's not true. So
let me do this too, because you just brought up a point that's pretty good. If a person has some hidden secrets or some things about they think other people won't understand, and so they withdraw themselves. Now, when you take that same scenario and you apply it to a church situation, then they say, now I'm being quote unquote judged because I'm different than them, so I don't want to go there. And
right.
they disconnect first from the body of from the environment, but while they're at it, they disconnect from the one who sent them there in the first place. There you that dichotomy where they're just disconnecting, and then they say, you know what, if they don't understand me, God can understand me, so I'm just going to withdraw from him too.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be gay, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be with lesbianism, it doesn't have to, it just maybe something that they see in themselves. I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I've not been able to do it, I'm not good enough, God never loved me, he couldn't love me because I'm just a bad person. And
right.
Conversation takes place. And so that happens oftentimes in interpersonal relationships. Not that the interpersonal relationship is bad, but that you have preconceived notions that create this environment that you now feel uncomfortable with, and so you back away. people that you've grown up with, people that you know, but you don't feel that they understand you anymore, and so you back away,
Mm-hmm.
stop,
Mm-hmm.
disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I would contend again that it's your disconnection. It's not them. Maybe they're boisterous. Maybe they say things that maybe they don't know how to hold their tongues or whatever the case
Mm-hmm.
might be.
Mm-hmm.
It's your choice to withdraw from them. Sometimes to withdraw is a good thing for you, but
Mm-hmm.
you got to know that we do that.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think, you can be a very spiritual person. I think sometimes people say, well, I'm very spiritual. I can't go to church.
Hmm.
I don't want to go to church. Um, but what does that mean when you say you're a very spiritual person? What do you do? Who are you around? Who's around you? What are you talking about? Um, do you read, the daily word every day, the daily bread or something like that? Do you read the Bible? Are you getting the verses? Is something that is
Are
there
you reading
something?
Matters of Faith? Are you reading my column? Are you?
Are you reading your comment?
Yeah.
Um, and what are you getting out of it? And maybe there should be not just read the column, but like you asked a question today, maybe there should be a question in the column that you need to be able to answer every time you read the column. I got very upset a couple of weeks ago when I found out that my grandson's school doesn't give homework.
Hmm.
And I grew up in a world where you got homework. You had to analyze something, you had to discuss something. And I think it's important that people are given questions. Well, what do you think of this? And how would you handle certain situations? What would you do? How would you handle this particular situation? How does it affect you? Um, so people need to be able to answer questions, not just read something.
Hmm.
But what is the question of the day? This is just write a couple of sentences. I have my watch at 8 o'clock at night. It says write something today. Put down, write something about your day today. Something. It could be something small, something large, or whatever. And then when you go back and you start reading it, say, oh, okay, today was a good day, or yesterday wasn't too good, or I did this, at least you can see your 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 thoughts on paper, because we forget very quickly what we thought about yesterday unless you write it down. You're not going to remember it. So it's a good thing to write it down so you can go over it and analyze and just say, okay, well, um, I was a little too aggressive today, or I should have said I'm sorry today, or I love you more today, or something like that. We're not we're not responding to questions. We're just reading. It's just like watching a reality show. You're watching TV. We're just watching it. How does that apply to you in your life when you're watching some of these TV shows that make no sense to me, but maybe it makes sense to you? I can't watch reality shows, so what are you getting out of it? How is that helping you? See, if it's not helping me in my everyday life, I just don't, I may peek at it. I kind of know some of the players or whatever. But it's
So
not doing
what you're
anything
saying
for me.
essentially is that those things kind of drive or motivate some people to disconnect from
Hmm.
those
Hmm.
taking place. They disconnect from because they feel that they're not a part of it, or it's just not contributing anything positive to them, so they withdraw from it. They just disconnect themselves.
I have students, and my job, part of my job as chief academic officer, anyone that has a disability has to go through me. I have to find out what the disability is. How
Mhm.
can I help you achieve your goal? Because you came here, you want to learn. I have students that have ADHD, or autism, because there are various forms of autism. I have some individuals that are physically disabled. They may be in a wheelchair or whatever. And my job, in fact, one of my students who's deaf came in today, you
Mhm.
know, and just gave me a bit. He started talking sign. I'm just talking sign language. I don't know what I'm doing, but we just hugged each other because he was just so happy to see
Right,
me.
right, right, right.
And because I make people feel comfortable. This young man was deaf. He finished two programs. He's working full time. And when he first came to me, he was a bit frustrated, but I found the equipment that we could use to help him. If you're autistic, I'll talk to you and find out what is it that you like, what is it that you want to gain from this program, try to calm them down. And I always tell them, I said, if you have any difficulty, call me. Don't call anybody else. You call Dr. Khan. And that gives them comfort. They like, oh, I can go to somebody who's important, somebody that has credentials. I
Mhm.
just tell them, call me up, call me on the phone, send me a text message, because you know what? I'm going to answer you immediately.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's how I respond to different individuals, and there's always a way to get to someone. There's always, at least to start the conversation. You may not be able to stay with them long term, but at least to start that conversation, to kind of find out, to make them feel comfortable, to make them feel connected. And oftentimes the parents will call me. And you know what I tell the parents? I said, I can't talk to you. I have to talk to the student. Those are the rules. We can't, because this is adult education, center. I have to talk to, and then the parents are like, I said, I'll talk to you later on the backside, but I need to talk to your daughter, your child, your daughter, your son first. And I bring out the best I can, in any way possible to help them understand, and we talk about transportation. How are you going to get to school? Sometimes they don't think about that. Are you taking the subway? Are you taking the bus? Somebody's dropping you off. All of those things are important. So you have to, when you're in a situation like that with individuals who are closed-minded, don't want to talk, you have to go to their core, find out, just one sentence, one word they may say that will lead you into asking other questions. And that's what I'm very good at. They know me. I can pull a conversation out of anybody. I was in a place. I was in a hotel once, and there was a man sitting at the hotel. He had 3 drinks in front of him, and he was crying, and he was just kind of leaning over. And I just walked up to him. He was a Caucasian gentleman, and I said, "Are you okay?" Like that. And he looked at me and he said, "No," and I said, "Oh my God." With him. But I had a short conversation because I was on my way out. But just that little short conversation kind of made him just sit up because he really wanted somebody to listen to him, you know. And just a few words I said, well, it can't be that bad. I said, you're not driving, you're not leaving tonight, you're staying in the hotel, right? To make sure he wasn't walking out the door. And that gave him some comfort. So you have to get to that core of those individuals. If you feel that the church is not the right place for you, find another church. Find someone else that you can speak to. Find another pastor, minister, someone else, that you can go to that will listen. Because sometimes they don't listen either. You know, they have a lot on their plate. And sometimes they say, God has a lot on his plate. You have to help him too. And I said, we just can't pile all of our troubles and our problems on God and just say, fix this, fix that. I'm working so hard to fix as many things as I can. And sometimes when I think things are so overwhelming, you know, and God is say, okay, enough is enough, take your time. But Sharon, tomorrow you have to jump back on something else. That's just my life. I'm always doing something. My friends know that when they call me, I have something exciting. I have some exciting news to tell them. I'm always trying to find positive things and exciting things to talk to them about. So they know when they call
Let
me,
me
so, oh my
rewind.
God, Sharon's doing something. She
Let me
may want my help.
rewind you for a second. Let me rewind you for a second. What I was listening to and what I kept hearing over and over again. I heard this. Now you didn't say it, but I heard it. Is that to reconnect,
Mhm.
to re-engage, you need to love.
Yeah. Oh,
Love
yeah.
that you're talking to. You need
Oh,
to love the persons that you're talking about. You
hmm
need to, if you're in the church, you need to reestablish your first love. It wasn't with the building. It wasn't with the people who came into the
hmm
building.
hmm
It was with God who called you to that
hmm
space.
hmm
So if you miss the connection, because you stopped loving, the Bible talks about this too in the book of Revelation. It says you lost your first love.
hmm hmm
And
Mm-hmm.
our relationships is the same. When we stop loving our families because we start looking at their actions rather than the people,
Mm-hmm.
because people's actions can turn us off so badly that
Yeah.
we can't hear what they're saying. We don't care what they're saying. We don't
Mm-hmm.
care. What they're doing doesn't matter because we don't like them. We've stopped loving on them. And so what they do is creating a problem for us. And
Mm-hmm.
so all of the things that we did initially, because I remember as a kid growing up, I thought we had a crazy family. I know we did. We had a crazy,
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but we loved each other. We always got together. We always together. And even when crazy things happened, we laughed about it. We got back together again. My mother had like 9 brothers and sisters. It was just
Mm-hmm.
always a bunch of
Right.
people in the house, and drinking was normal. And when they got
Right.
fighting and fussing and
Mm-hmm.
cussing, all that kind of stuff. Playing cards was the norm,
Right.
things like that. And so we went out, we did picnics, no, we did barbecues. Not gonna say picnics, I don't like that word, especially during Black History Month. Picnic.
Mm-hmm.
So barbecues, we went out, we ate, we did some wonderful things,
Mm-hmm.
great family gatherings, and family was significant and important to us. And
Yeah.
so, when you stop loving people because you start looking at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like what you do, so I don't like you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's the wrong way to do it because what you do is not who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You may be doing things because of all the things that you mentioned, because of all the circumstances and situations and other things that are cropping up in your life. Now you feel that there are reasons that all of these things are taking place. And so you act out and
Mm-hmm.
take your actions, and they use those as the criteria for whether or not they're going to love you,
Mm-hmm.
disconnect with you because they don't understand. So if I looked at it from a from the perspective of a person who follows God, I don't care what faith you are. I don't care if you're Muslim.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm.
When you begin to think that how can God allow this to take place?
Mm-hmm.
What this is. This could be that, that could be this, whatever it is. But when you start looking at it and start condemning God for something that's happened,
Mm-hmm.
then you can disconnect from him because you no longer seek to understand that he doesn't owe you an explanation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He doesn't
Mm-hmm.
owe an explanation. He does what he does, and then it's up to us to kind of figure out what good is going to come out of that. I'll give you a
Mm-hmm.
perfect example. So amazing. Last night I was at an installation. I preached at the church and stayed for the installation of the pastor, who's a dear friend of mine. Her husband recently passed away, and she was a co-pastor. Now she's a senior pastor. And so I was there, and I preached. So I preached about staying connected, and
Mm-hmm.
about Ralph. And Ralph was the senior pastor. He was the brother who passed away. And I preached about that to the congregation. They really appreciated it. And then um, uh, we were I was watching the connection that was established with another denomination.
Mm-hmm.
The pastor, before he passed away, decided that he was going to do. And so I saw this entire procedure go through from a different perspective from mine,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
different denominational procession or process, which I thought was really intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, okay. But when I was asked to speak, because I'm really, we're friends. So I was when
Right. Mm-hmm.
I said, you know what I like about this? So I like that this is an ecumenical, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's ecumenical.
Mm-hmm.
We're not suffering here today from ecclesiastical apartheid,
Mm-hmm.
denominational limitations,
Mm-hmm.
because of one reason alone, because we love her.
Mm-hmm.
We all came together because we love her.
Mm-hmm.
We loved her.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
all that other stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right, was disregarded because
Mm-hmm.
connected,
Yeah.
connected. We're connected by love, and everything that you said, Sharon, I just saw the love just kind of bring out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's what I'm going to do. We're almost out of time, so I want to give you a chance to close out because I'm gonna sort of pull everything together that we've been talking about, the Lord has given me some closing remarks that I'm going to share. But I want you to sort of, have some closing remarks because I need at least about 10 minutes to close out because that's what I time myself at. So about four or 5 minutes to say your final remarks.
We said a lot tonight, and I think that there are two tenets from Kwanzaa principles. One is collective work and responsibility, and the other one is cooperative economics. And I think that we need to put ourselves in a position where we start working collectively with one another.
Right.
We have the talent, we have the energy. We just need to refocus our energy and our talents. And collectively, we just need to start, building the dreams that we talked about. If it's communicating or creating better communications and trade with Africa, with different countries, we need to do that. We need to stop questioning what is an African American. Some people, feel that we don't, some people are angry at Africans for what they did 400 years ago. We need to stop thinking like that. We need to stimulate international economics and political awareness. There's a lot going on in this country. And sometimes we don't feel that we're part of it or we can make a difference, or that it does make a difference. But I just think it's important for us to start talking about investments, collective investments together, to build not just for us, but for the future of our children. A lot of us just don't think that we should leave anything, other than a legacy. But, we have children and grandchildren who are going to be here long after we go, The love is lost in our families. I really want the Black families to reconnect, men to step up. We had the Million Man March back in 1995, and nothing has come from that. Men need to really step up. There's a wonderful series that's going on now, National Geographic's. I don't know if you heard about it. It's called Genius, MLK/X, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. And they're really talking about their family lives, not just what happened as civil rights and human rights activists, but their family lives, what their wives, went through, and what our wives went through, and how, some of us are disrespected. We don't respect each other anymore. So I would just like to see us as African Americans find ways to connect with each other and to help build a better America if we're going to stay here. If we decide that we want to leave and go back to Africa, go anywhere else, But I tell folks that we're not even the minority population anymore. Hispanics are now the minority population in this country. And we're going to, lose more and more of us if we don't start thinking holistically. And those are some of my thoughts.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, we are now, they are the minority majority. But it's interesting because similarly to what we call the African American diaspora or the African diaspora, and the Latino or Hispanic community is similar because they have divisions among themselves too if they're from different places.
The caste system and yeah.
Exactly. And so with us, we have, instead of being the collective Black community, we are Caribbean Americans, African Americans, South African,
everything.
where we seem to come from, and so we've adopted that European sort of perspective on who we are. And we got to get rid of that because if we do, then the collectivity comes in, the connection comes in, and the solidarity begins to take place. Young lady she said, asked me if I would be interested in speaking at if I would be willing to speak at a conference in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
About,
about the experience, the African American experience here, some other kinds of things. She says, and they wanted to do it from a Caribbean perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Said, I'd be delighted to do it. I said, there's one issue though. There's one challenge. She said, what's that? I said, I'm not from the
Yeah,
Caribbean.
I know.
No.
Yeah,
I said, no.
right.
See, because I've been to their churches, I've been there, and because I told her, I said, look, I said, because I see the diaspora as one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it as being Caribbean, African American, South American, Australian.
Mm-hmm.
I see it as one. We're one. We came
Mm-hmm.
from the same place. They just dropped us off at
In
different
different ports,
places.
right? Yeah.
I see that. I understand that. And so my living reflects that. So
Mm-hmm.
did not know that I was not Caribbean because you did not see that. All you saw was humanity,
Yeah.
which is
Mm-hmm.
it's important.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
listen, watch this. This week's article was written to and for those who call themselves followers of the Christian faith. It's not at the exclusion of other faiths. It's just designed to challenge the complacency of the so-called Christian to be more engaged in kingdom building.
Mm-hmm.
In what ways could you have disconnected yourself from the vine? I was trying to encourage all of us to take an honest and introspective look at our connection and the source of our strength.
Mm-hmm.
It's not difficult to tell if you're disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how often you share the salvific story of Jesus Christ. Now, salvific means the power to save. So we have been given the power to save through our relationship with the vine.
Mm-hmm.
If inquiry reveals no sharing, you've lost your connection.
Mm-hmm.
Always bear in mind that the vine dresser never disconnects the vine from the branch. It's always the branch that
It
disconnects.
disconnects from the vine. Okay.
Gospel of John is familiar to most people in our society, even if they're not Bible readers or even believers.
Mm-hmm.
It contains some of the most memorable events and miracles that Jesus performed and opens in majestic fashion. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him, nothing was made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men, and the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it. If you didn't read any further, that's reason enough to understand why everybody is kind of familiar with John's gospel, but there's more. The most well-known scripture in the entire book is found in the Gospel of John, chapter 3 and verse 16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. It is God's intention to make sure that no one would perish, but that all would have everlasting or eternal life. He makes that happen when the branches that are connected to the vine, he does that through those branches. There is some important points here when I say that this happens through the branches, that there's an important points here that I want to make clear. Watch this. If a believer becomes unfruitful, they are not sharing Christ with people in their circle of influence. They are disconnected. Disconnected branches have not lost their salvation or their ticket to glory, but they have lost their effectiveness. So if I took that for a moment and talked about and think about all the things that Sharon shared with us tonight, if a person is disconnected from their family, from the source of their strength, they have not lost their relationship in the family. They just lost their effectiveness in the family. They're no longer influential. Disconnected branches are of no use to the vine, Jesus in case of the Christian, or to the vine dresser, God the Father. They have chosen to disconnect from the vine, which renders them fruitless. The Bible says such branches are gathered up and thrown into the fire and are burned up. Now listen to me closely because I'm going to tell you something that you need to write down. Get your pen ready and write this down. I'm going to say it 3 times in 3 different ways so you don't miss it. Here we go. Not all dead branches were unfruitful. Not all dead and dried up branches were unfruitful.
and not all dead, dried up, and burned branches were unfruitful. They could have served their purpose and now going to be fruitful in a different way. Burning produces heat. Burning produces light. Burning cooks food. Burning boils water. And burning purifies. I wanted to make that clear so that no one leaves here tonight thinking people lose their inheritance from the Lord because they have become unfruitful by will or by chance. Death makes everyone fruitless. When my friend died in November, he can't teach Bible anymore. He can't preach anymore. He can't witness to anybody anymore. But for all intents and purposes, he's fruitless. So he's being burned now, and he's providing heat, light, food, water, purity to those he ministered to before. His wife has now become a benefactor of that ministry because she's now the senior pastor. Believers who stay connected, on the other hand, are like productive branches. They are cared for and nurtured. They are fed through the vine and pruned by the gardener so they can produce more fruit. But the pruning process can be agonizing and painful because it requires cutting, snipping, clipping, and trimming. Now, you know that because you plant stuff, Sharon. I can't grow anything. I don't even try. The pruning process helps the branch reap a richer and more fruitful harvest. Pruning may result in the branch being cut back, but not cut off.
Amen.
Just as the vine nourishes the branches, Christ nourishes those who are connected to him.
Mm.
When you stay connected, you bloom where you're planted. Whatever you decide to do, decide to stay connected. Now, my guest tonight and my friend, Dr. Sharon Khan, has helped us to see a varied application to staying connected. While being connected and staying connected to the vine has eternal implications, it also has practical relevance as well. This being Black History Month, Dr. Khan, I'm going to tell you, you've helped us emphasize the urgency of staying connected to our ancestry, avoid losing perspective of our current reality. We talked, well, we didn't, but let me just mention this because I had it in my notes. 14th Amendment, abolished slavery. But it says, except in cases of imprisonment. It's imperative that we teach our youth, as well as our youth who are dying of old age, that consciously deciding to do something that may land us in prison is another way of going back to the plantation. Dr. Khan, I want to thank you for connecting this deeply theological topic with the reality of modern day issues. We ought never to be convicted of being so heavenly minded that we're no earthly good.
Amen.
You're an amazing woman with a wealth of information that, to my delight and the edification of the Matters of Faith family, you're always willing to share. So I thank you, Dr. Sharon Khan, for taking the time out of your very busy schedule and productive schedule, I might add. Right. You've helped set the agenda for our Black History Month.
Thank you.
Combine theological with the practical to gain a more fruitful application. Thank you again for giving us food for thought, your knowledge, your wisdom, and your understanding, and some very profound perspectives on this topic of staying connected. We won't soon forget it. I really appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Thank
you, dear.
You have been a guest numerous times on Matters of Faith, so I feel comfortable in saying this. Be prepared to come back and bless us. Now, you know how I do. I may call on you at the drop of a hat.
I know, and I'm here for you.
That's all a part of me claiming more in everything the Lord has in store in 2024. Let me say that again. It's a part of my claiming more in everything the Lord has in store in this year 2024.
Yes.
So that's okay with you, right? I'm gonna call on you.
Oh, I'm here for it. You know that. I'm always here.
Good deal. Now, listen, don't forget our sponsors and advertisers. The JLR Company, J. Lauren R. Consulting, LLC, for all your church financial needs, 718-328-8096. You can visit our website, www.jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. And by the way, we have a new email address. Might want to write this down. It's real easy. JLORENR, J. Lauren R. at JLR.LLC. Hear that? JLaurenR at JLR.LLC. Write it down. Don't forget it. You can just send me an email. I'll respond to it right away. It's
At
not about
LLC, what at L that's it? At LL.
JLORENR at JLR.LLC. That's the email. That is my domain.
Okay.
See, it's not about the castle, it's about the kingdom. God keeps expanding the kingdom. He keeps making it bigger and better.
I see. Okay.
No doubt about it. Now, listen, Matters of Faith, the book. You know the book. This is the book. I've been
I got
talking.
to get the book.
The Cash App, $ Matters of Faith. The book is $23.92, which covers shipping and handling. Or you can get it as an ebook. The ebook information is on your chat, www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. Let me do it again. www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. And don't forget, please, don't forget, subscribe to Better Mag Magazine, a 2-year subscription. This is a Black-owned, a Black-run magazine. We got to support each other. We keep talking about it, but we got to do better. www.abettermag.com. A 2-year subscription is only $27.50. They publish every quarter, and they're now carrying the Matters of Faith column. And please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Telephone, text, message, any way you do it, but tell a friend to join us regularly on Monday nights for Matters of Faith, the radio show. Again, we are live on Matters of Faith YouTube channel. And when this show is over, and by the way, I found out that actually it is broadcasting on my Facebook groups even as we speak. So it's on YouTube and Matters of Faith and the J. Lauren Russell Facebook group simultaneously, but I'm going to drop it on there anyway. So please, ma'am, please, sir, subscribe, like, and share this Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Make sure you don't miss a single episode of Matters of Faith because you did not subscribe, like, and share the Matters of Faith YouTube channel. So don't get left out. Now, the Lord bless you, the Lord keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Now, if no one told you this today, I want to be the first to say that I love you and there's absolutely nothing that you can do about it. So get used to it. Good night. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Khan. We'll see you all next week, same time. Oh, by the way, my guest next week is going to be Reverend Dr. Johnny Ray Youngblood. If you've not heard of him, please come. He's an amazing guy. He does the Ma'afa, and he's been doing it for 30 years. And that's the transatlantic slave trade. They do it live as oh my God, it's the most amazing thing. But please don't miss it. Tell a friend. Reverend Dr. Johnny Ray Youngblood is going to be my guest.